Educor Africa is experiencing strong population growth, estimated at 2.2% per annum, a notable decline in poverty levels, with more spending on education. Joining us now to discuss the market for private education in Africa is Julian Kannigan, the CEO of education group Educor here, Educor Africa. Thank you so much for joining us, Julian.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's just start with what you're planning to do and in terms of just expanding to the rest of the African continent. You say that you have an eye on Nigeria right now and you have started operations there.
Yes, we've embarked on starting our operations there. We've been through the regulatory framework to make sure that our colleges and our courses are accredited with the relevant authorities. We've already been to prospective premises that we have an eye on obtaining, and then we're looking at from a long-term view with regard to opening a multimedia campus to support the Nollywood film industry, and thereafter ultimately applying for a university license, which we've been invited to do so.
I'm actually interested in talking about that Nollywood industry because I mean it's huge in terms of how many movies they put out there. What would you like to do in that space?
Well, actually, we've had a meeting with the Department of Culture, under whose ministry it falls under, and he has a mandate to train the scarce skills that are required to support this industry. And so we're looking at a public-private partnership with the federal government of Nigeria to open a multimedia campus to actually uplift the Nigerians with regard to the relevant skills to support that industry.
Well, let's talk about some of the other interests that they might be, because I would imagine different countries would require different needs and also different skills. So in Nigeria, what is for you has been the skill that they would like most investment in? Well,
certainly I think with regard to the industries that are actually coming in, like the financial sectors and the telecommunications sectors. So you're looking at a lot of banking, IT, commercial subjects and courses that would be relevant there. And then certainly to support the mining and oil and gas industries, you're going to look at technical courses. And it goes without saying with regard to media courses, journalism, to support the media industry there.
I want to talk a little bit about what's happening in it, because that's a country that you've already started, talking to the relevant people, building the network that you need there. But if you look at South Africa, for instance, we've got loads of universities here, we've got loads of other private colleges here. Is it that has probably prompted you to go outside of the continent, or is it more growth opportunities, or a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both, and as well, it's been more of a pull rather than a push strategy from an Educor perspective, in that we've had overtures from certain of the governments and the private sector initiatives in these countries to actually come out there. Also, there's been a disparity between government spending, certainly on an African context, on public education. And that gap has created an opportunity now for private players who want to make a difference through various jurisdictions across Africa to come and enter into those markets.
And just in terms of accreditation, you were talking about this, in terms of accreditation, if somebody is coming to one of your institutions, why would they choose your institution as opposed to a university?
I think our institutions have been around for a long time, certainly in a South African context, and they're well-known brands. They have the pedigree of being, accredited institutions selling accredited courses, and they're strong brands, and it certainly has those kind of means to go into the African continent.
Let's talk a little bit about where else you've got an eye on, another country that you'd like to move into.
Well, we're starting off with a hub in Nigeria and moving on to Ghana next, and thereafter we're moving on to East Africa hub.
I want to talk a little bit about Ghana. What's the interest there?
Good GDP, stable government, young population, smaller market naturally than Nigeria, but we've seen a yearning and a desire to be educated at a tertiary level, which is the environment that we actually operate in.
Are you going to be going in with your own staff, or are you going to be looking at getting a local contingent working in your institutions? Local
contingent that we will train either back in South Africa or training on board whilst we're there, but certainly we're looking at a local contingent.
What's some of the challenges that you're foreseeing going into some of the other African countries?
Well, certainly with regard to Nigeria, and it's the power and the security issues and the infrastructure. But as an entrepreneurial organization where others might see challenges, we see the opportunities. And so we're certainly going in with our eyes wide open.
Thank you so much for joining us.